All right, everyone. This is Casey Tutungi. So he previously wore the number 29. So I was doing Sixers homework and cold Case last week, but I think this is we're trying to get him in. This might work a bit better to hear some messages from Case because he had some really good things to say. So, bit of a background about Casey. He played 43 games for the Swans from 2010 to 2013. Two premierships and then one as a coach. Prior to that, he'd played at Lorne, and correct me if I'm wrong, Case, but 2009 through to 2012 VFL listed as well with the Cats.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. So I guess that's a bit of a background about his time at the Swans, but in your own words, can you give me or tell us about your footy and your time at South Barwon, Case?
Yeah, sure, mate. I grew up in Lorne and went through the juniors down there. In a school, I was down the Falcons from sort of under 16 through to 18s. I was on the development list, so it was never really in the team a lot. But then in my top age year, I sort of cemented myself in the team. Just right at the start of the year, I was emergency and got the opportunity in the year, and then played the year at the Falcons, which was good. From there, I'm a competitive person, so I wanted to get the most out of myself footy-wise. Went to a pre-season at Geelong VFL, and there's only there's probably 11 spots back then on the VFL list at Geelong. So I was doing uni in Melbourne, and I shifted at the end of that pre-season up to Springvale for 2 years when I was at uni. Had some bulging disc in my back the first year, and then I broke my ankle the second year. So it was pretty frustrating time injury-wise then for me. I probably pushed myself a bit hard when I had a sore back and lost a year, and then broke my ankle, which sort of rode off that second year up there. But I didn't like Melbourne. I didn't love the club up there, mate. So I come back to Lorne for a couple of years, and we won back-to-back flags in Lorne, which sort of reinvigorated my love and playing with your mates. Lorne's a home club, and it felt great. But being invited back to the VFL after those 2 years at Lorne sort of brought that competitiveness out again, and played 09 at Geelong and had a pretty good year, played all year. We played finals at Port Melbourne that year, and then I wanted to come to the GFL. And the Swans had rang me the year before, and I knew how successful they were and how powerful they were. So I sort of made the change after that first year of VFL, mate, and loved it. New player to the club, really open arms from the players and the supporters back then, mate. And at the end, being on the VFL list and at the Swans, it was difficult to sort of where your priorities lie. But I really love the people there. And at the end of some years at the VFL, I made the choice to qualify GFL-wise so I can play finals. So in a way, I sacrificed a few VFL games to qualify for finals, and that allowed me to have those flags and success at the Swans. So very grateful for my time. And at the end of 2012, I was 26 and sort of knew I wanted to coach, and that's when the opportunity came up at the Swans to coach. And I jumped at it with Garves. And I love coaching, mate. And that year we're going pretty good, and I broke my neck sort of in June that year. But we had a good team and probably had a successful year in the end. It was a huge year for me personally and the club in a lot of ways. But I'm very grateful for the club and how they've supported me through it and everything like that. But
Yeah. So just touching on that, you're heading into 2013, first sole year for South, co-coaching with Garves, were you? Was it just you two?
It was, mate. Yeah, co-coach with Garves. 2013, I had a pretty much OP at the end of 2012. So I had a pretty slow start to the year, and which allowed me to coach more over pre-season and run the drills and that. I think I come back maybe a week before Anzac Day or for Anzac Day game that year, mate. And
Wasn't a medal in there?
that was the previous year I won the
Okay.
Anzac medal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played in
You tell me that last week.
played that Anzac Day game and then interleague before I got injured. So maybe played 4 or 5 games that year.
Yeah. So just you sort of led into it then. June, July, your injury happened. Can you sort of, for those who don't know, tell us a bit about that?
Of course, mate. There's no blame from me for what happened to me playing footy. It was just an unfortunate incident, and I don't hold any grudges or anything like that. I moved on pretty quick after I get injured, but I just got stuck in an awkward spot. And my head got pushed to my chest and I heard my neck break and then lay down on the ground and I looked up and I couldn't move. And Adam Wiseman come over to me and I sort of, you could probably see how scared I was on my face. And I said, I can't move. Wiz, pull my mouth guard out of my mouth. And from there, game obviously got called off and I got flown up to Melbourne and some scans and things and sort of confirm what, I guess if you break your neck, you don't always squash your spinal cord, but I squashed mine up the 4th and 5th vertebra, which is pretty high up, mate, and a pretty severe injury. So that sort of resulted in the paralysis from there down, and that basically a loss of your feeling and your movement. But with that, there's a lot of other things as well. But yeah, that was a huge point in my life, obviously in my family's life. And it sort of shifted from then, what my life was going to be like and what our life was like.
Yeah. So last week when you were talking about 2013, your wife, Bridget's also pregnant with Asta at the time during November. And then you get back to coach in September for the 2013 flag. That's a pretty massive year. How did you cope with that adversity?
It was all a huge blur at the start. I was in Melbourne in hospital for 6 months. Well, basically from June, I was in hospital till the end of November when we had Asta, my first daughter, mate. So the first month or two was just a complete blur, and I was on a ventilator and couldn't move or speak for a long time, which was pretty scary to deal with. And then once I sort of got through that early stage, I had to learn what my body was like and how to live and get up in the mornings. And then obviously I was pushing it rehab-wise to work out what recovery I might have. So my brother moved back from Queensland and moved to Melbourne with my family, and we smashed rehab every day in the gym as hard as we could. Garves was coming up weekly. I was looking at a few games on the screens later on in the season because I wanted to still be involved. And him and Andrea did a power of work to keep me connected to the club and the team.
So this time you're still in the Talbot, are you?
I was still in the Talbot, mate, the rehabilitation centre.
Yeah.
And yeah, I knew there was a lot going on outside the rehab on my support and that through Geelong and the footy community. But I was sort of shielded away from that for a while. And then at the end of the year, I wanted to come back and help be there for finals on the sidelines to be able to coach. So, the first final, I think we only lost one game that year to Lara. But then the first final was at West, and I come back and stayed a night in Geelong, which I hadn't done before, and I was pretty crook at the time, to be honest. I had a few health issues going on, but I wanted to get down, and it was a wet, cold day at West, and we ended up winning, and then we're off to Skilled, mate. And what can I say about the granny? We played Grovedale and we didn't kick straight, but there's so much emotion going around that day, and obviously the pressure and things build up throughout the whole year. But the team was very even team, I think, and we were so well connected to each other because we loved each other and we were really good teammates. I never felt like we were going to lose, but there was certainly pressure in the game, and we didn't kick away till the last quarter in that granny, which was a huge relief for me and probably a lot of other people. But yeah, at the end of the day, I was absolutely exhausted and very proud of the team and everything we achieved. But it was a big effort too, from not just me personally, but Garves and Andrew and the team itself, because it would have been pretty easy to lose it and drop off and sort of think about other things. But football, I think, if I was playing with a teammate that got injured, then you'd probably reconsider at times what we hear, or that footy's just a game. But that year was important to me, I guess, to finish it the right way. And yeah, the players certainly did that.
Yeah. Just touching on that, how you were saying what you did there, has your perspective shifted at all?
Yeah, I'm like, it has, but that's more about life in general, mate, and probably not being caught up in all the bullshit and all the little things that some people get caught up in. I don't worry about those things anymore. It's more about doing the things you love and being around the people that you really enjoy, and living and teaching my kids the right way is, what I really treasure at the moment and what my sort of energy goes into. Feel like being around the footy club, and I go into Geelong one day a week and work in there with the Cats Academy guys. But yeah, I don't worry too much about all the noise and all the other stuff that means nothing to me. And I worry about what's important to me, and that's about it, mate. I don't really worry about it, but I just spend my time and energy on it.
Yeah. You sort of touched on it there, but also a lot of people sort of, you're not as involved with the club anymore. They're not sure what you're getting up to these days and that sort of thing. So can you give us a bit of a rundown of what you do get up to these days? Obviously, 3 kids.
Yeah.
For the Cats.
Yeah, mate. I do find the thing that my injury has created a barrier to be able to drive. I can't drive. I rely on support workers and taxis to get around. So it does impact on where I can and can't go. But I spend a lot of time with my kids. I've got 3 girls now, which I love doing on the weekends. I'm definitely a better dad and a better person around them than I would have if I wasn't injured. I feel like I would have spent a lot of time at work, and my connection to them's really strong. So I'm pretty aware of the positive side of what happened to me in a way, and that's what it's allowed me to do. I still have to move my body a lot, mate. So I do exercise with Dodsy and Al and osteo 4 days a week. So I'm still doing constant exercise, which I need to do to stay fit and healthy. It makes me feel good. It's like any sort of training. It's a mental health thing. You still feel good after it. So I do that 3 or 4 days a week, mate. And I go in the Cats one day a week, and I get outside in the garden. But yeah, I miss being involved in footy a little bit, but it's not my priority at the moment. And I still feel a connection to South and to Lawn. And yeah, they sort of feel like my clubs.
Yeah. I guess a lot of the guys won't know as well, but and you have talked a little bit about it already, but can you tell us some more about your life living with your disability?
Yeah, mate. Like I spinal cord injuries affect a lot of things. Your ability to move, but your feeling, and then your bowels and your bladder and your ability to control your temperature. So certain times of year that I do struggle, like out in the cold and that. I'm not able to shiver or keep myself warm very often. If you think about someone that's not moving and their blood flow's not really pumping around their body, they're going to have some issues keeping them warm. So I do struggle at cold, and sort of my injury is such a high level that it affects a lot of your independence, so your hand function. And I can eat by myself, but I rely on people to help me up in the mornings, and then get to bed at night a lot of the time. So yeah, it's a big learning curve, and there's a lot of different disabilities. Spinal cord injury is just one of them. But yeah, I think I'm pretty independent, but then I do have a good support team around me to help me do what I want to do, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess drawing it back to last week, when we had a chat, you had some awesome messages that I think related a lot to our group. And one thing I wanted to tap into was you're involved wherever you went. It seems you were successful. And it seems like you know how to surround yourself with the right people and look after the people, the ones around you. So I just wanted to ask that, what were you, with the premierships that you won and the success that you found throughout your footy, what were the things you found made you that way or made your teams that way?
Yeah, I think it's important. I come to South as someone that didn't really know anyone. I knew one or two people there, but I was a new player to the club, and it's really important that you're able to connect to the people there and get to know them really well. But then I think when you go out on the field, for me, you can be a different person than you are, like as a personality. Like I sort of forced myself in a way. I was never the most talented, but I had a competitiveness, and I knew how important it was to communicate out on the field and to push your teammates to get the most out of themselves. And being loud on the field and having a voice out there was something that I thought I could do every game, whether I was playing well or not. You could push teammates by using your voice in any way you wanted, and you could direct people. And I wasn't naturally that type of person. I'm not a loud person. I'm shy, but I sort of learned from a young age through a coach that I had down in Lawn that you could be that on the footy field, whether you liked it or not, or whether you're like that off the field or not. And I played with a few players like that too. And I think there was a few of us out in those years that were like that. Jason Kirby is probably one of them. Such a quiet guy, but you get him out on the footy field and he wouldn't shut up, whether he was egging his teammates along in the ruck to get up and win that next contest or what. But and I'm made it a focus of every game that I was going to be like that too, mate. So I think it's important that whether you're going well or you're going bad, that you're still strong as a team and you're communicating and supporting each other to get the most out of themselves.
Was that your way of being the best teammate, was it?
Yeah, it probably was, mate. Yeah, I was, we all like to kick goals and that, but doing those things helps to keep the team up and about, and it just helps someone always has to be doing those things. And I was happy to do them because, yeah, I think your teammates really rated that and really respected that. I had to build respect in a way, and going hard at the footy and tackling and doing the 1%ers is one way, but also speaking and being loud out there is another way, and it can be quite intimidating for oppositions. You've got a few different players doing it. So yeah, I forced myself to do that, mate, and I know a few other players probably did too.
Yeah. I was also going to touch on, like, just ask who were your best teammates and what were their qualities, or was it more of a group thing?
Yeah, I don't think I could pick a best teammate, mate. There's certain players that had moments in games that you knew you could rely on, and I think that's important too, that you understand it, the momentum or the way the games work. There's often some big moments in games, and I felt that I could rely on people in my team to be there at that time. And I was probably one that wanted to be that person too, whether it's in the middle or doing whatever your role is. But yeah, I couldn't sort of nail one teammate, but there was a number of them that would always be doing the right thing at the right time, or what the team wanted them to do. And you had a lot of respect for them for that.
And you've obviously carried through with your work. In that sense, you're working with the Cats now in a similar role, hoping to get the most out of them in that regard.
Yeah. I'm not really worried about trying to get the most out of them football-wise at the Cats. I just want to see that these young kids that they draft are having fun, that have settled in all right, that they're happy, and that they've got someone to talk to if they need, mate.
Yeah.
The football side of it and the coaching, I don't try and get too involved in it. It's hard to not sort of speak up at times, but I'm such a bubble in AFL club and their pressures and things. I just want to make sure that they've got someone to speak to if they need to speak to someone, and I'm aware that, you know, you can feel isolated if you're injured or you're not out there playing and things. So I just try and chat to a few guys if they need it.
Yeah. I think that speaks volumes about you as well. You said the same thing to me last week, saying any way you can help, let me know. So it's good to hear that you still feel you are, I guess, connected to the club in that way. And all of us are pretty eager to learn as much as we can from you. So appreciate it.
Mate, I'm happy to, like I said, I'm happy to have another chat later in the year if the boys find it helpful. And if anyone in particular wants to give me a ring or sound me up, mate, I'm available a lot. So I'm happy to have a chat to anyone that wants to, mate. And I mean, it's important that you battle through this time of year and keep winning and try and build to something, because you sort of, when I was up for past players day, I can see how the group, there is a good feeling in the group, and it's a good age group that you're all together with, and it's hard at times during the year, but you need to really battle through that and keep trying to win to get yourself in a position and do the work to try and be good at finals time as well. So I found all the little things add up during this time of year to get you in a position to play the best footy later in the year. You might not realise it at the time, but doing all the little things right now for the next sort of month or 6 weeks, maybe even a bit longer, will give you a little edge, personally and as a team.
Yeah, I think that's a great message from you. I think do you have anything more you want to add, Case?
Right, mate. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much.
No, I'm taking up your time. Usually appreciate you taking the time out of your day to catch up with me. And if this recording doesn't work, we'll see how we go. We might have to just get you down to the club or sort out a live soon.
Mate. Nah, that's fine. Yeah. sorting something out, Hogs. But yeah, appreciate you touching base, mate, and asking me a few questions. I'm happy to do it.
Nah, too easy. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Hogs.